is not doing anything with it, manipulating anything, you see. That's usually what happens. As soon as something blooms, the mind grabs it. How can I use this to secure the future? To hold on to this wonderful spiritual state, or to get rid of whatever, ego or thought, but we're talking about something that's much deeper. The softness of silence, the deep listening. And then what arises unfolds of itself, and it has an effect throughout the body-mind that is unmanipulated, uncontrolled, unintended. And this is really where transformation happens. That awakeness that's awake in everybody in this room. That awareness that's aware in everybody in this room. It's hearing my voice. That's the awakeness. We think of that as our possession. I am aware. It's not true though. The I, the me, is just a thought. When you investigate, there is no I. It's just awareness is aware. Consciousness is conscious. No me behind it. No me within it. Consciousness is conscious. If you're more religious by nature, then you could say spirit is spirit. Me is never going to do it. Spirit is spirit. Consciousness is conscious. This is the great liberation.
I'd like to go to this notion of the heart, or pointing at what the heart is, because many teachers speak of this, and you use this term as well. Could you talk about what is the heart?
Well, when I speak of the heart, I don't necessarily know what other people mean. But when I speak of the heart, it's that sense of a deep and complete openness. The heart of what you are. The heart of your own being. This isn't just sort of the heart that we're talked about. So the Valentine's heart. The heart that's displayed in movies and romance. And this is not at all what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the spiritual person, singing praises to God and having their heart opened. I'm not even talking about a heart opening. I'm talking about something actually deeper than all of that. It is actually, the heart is another symbol, another pointer for the true state of consciousness, which is a total openness, a heartful openness, a deep intimacy and availability to what is. Something that doesn't contract. It's a non-verbal thing. It's even beyond feeling. This deep availability that consciousness always has towards the present. Consciousness is deeply and always available to whatever's happening. This is what I mean when I refer to the heart. And the surrender to that, to being what you are, is immense. So in the true heart, these two things, this total transcendence, a heart that's actually so wide and so vast that it includes everything. And that which includes everything is also beyond everything. So it's this sense of heart at the same time that it's totally intimate with everything that it transcends. Everything that consciousness is beyond, it is also deeply within the fabric. It's not just beyond. See, that same beyondness is actually inside the fabric of the teeniest moment. Inside the fabric of the simplest thought or the simplest feeling. So that's the deep intimacy. It's in the tree, it's in the leaf. And it's totally beyond. So This is sort of, to the mind, it's contradictory to be totally beyond and totally within. And yet, since everything is one, actually consciousness, the vastness that we are, it couldn't be any other way. So the fact that form changes, is in movement, is in permanence, is actually life and death, that's its beauty. Without that, there's no life.
This leads to the question then of what is going on with the mind in memory? What is it doing when it is living from memory? What is memory?
Memory is the mind, the sense of self. So when I say mind, I'm actually meaning mind, body, emotion, feeling. But ultimately all that combined, and to give one a sense of a separate self, a separate identity. There isn't one. But it gives us a sense of self, and so therefore there's the conclusion that there is a separate self. So when the mind is always reflecting on itself, you ever notice? The mind is thinking about its thoughts. It's thinking about its feelings. It's having feelings about its feelings. Right? So if a feeling of anger comes up, then you start to be ashamed that you have anger. So you're feeling a feeling about your feelings. So this is always the sense of self-reflection. Right? The mind and the emotional body is always reflecting on itself. This reflection is actually the movement of memory and interpretation. And this is how our sense of a separate self locates itself, finds itself, through thinking about its thoughts, interpreting, having emotions that are interpreting other emotions. Right? Because if one is not referencing oneself and literally creating yourself out of nothing, you see what I mean? That's it, right? When consciousness is fused with form, you're very, very extraordinarily vulnerable. Because all someone has to do is play with your thought form, and they can turn your day from a good day into a rotten day. Someone can criticize you, and it changes your thought form, right? You didn't do a good job. And your thought form goes, oh God, I didn't do a good job. All of a sudden, you have a rotten day. Very, very vulnerable to sudden and dramatic shifts in our whole way of being. It's stunning when you notice that as soon as you're not in thought, there's no yesterday, is there? There's no childhood, there's no mommy, there's no daddy, nothing ever happened. There's no proof that anything ever happened. I'm not saying that nothing ever happened. I'm simply saying that the only proof that anything ever happened is in the conceptual mind. And even that's not proof. That's a symbolic representation that's happening in the present moment. You see what I mean? Because when we're not thinking, it's not there, is it? And when we're not thinking about the future, the sense of separate self is not there. And then when we're not thinking in the present, when we're not referencing ourselves in the present moment, we as a separate somebody are not there. Then we start to see it's a fiction that's created by the mind referencing itself and feeling referencing itself. And then we start to see a mystery. Because we see, I'm not this separate self because there isn't one. It's a flim-flam show. It's a sleight of hand, right? That's been taught. We've learned it, right? We've become very good at this sleight of hand magician's trick. When we see that, I'm not this separate self, then there's a noticing that there is still something that's present, you see. There's a noticing of that. There's total consciousness of seeing what we've just been talking about. See, there's something that notices that. That which notices is totally outside of what's being noticed. It's not caught in this whole self-referencing of thought and feeling complex. It's free of it. It's not just outside, it's actually as I was saying before, it's actually on the inside